Welcome to Pet Business Disruptors. I'm Clayton and I'm sitting here today with Chris Watling and Katie Fletcher from the Animal People Recruitment Company.
Hiya.
Yeah, so
Hi.
Double trouble.
I know, yeah, exactly. So Chris, Katie are, in my opinion, the best animal and pet related recruiters in the industry. They're one of the only people who specialize in that, and I personally love them. I love their brand. I love everything they stand for. But tell me, Chris and Katie,
Thank you.
what? Tell me about the origins of the business. Like, how did you start? Why did you say, you know what, I'm going to do an animal-specific recruitment company? And like, what led you to that decision?
Yeah, cool. I'll take that question then. This is the first podcast that me and Katie have done so far. I've done a few of them, so it's cool to be on here with Katie because she is instrumental in our success. But I'll take it back a few years prior to me and Katie working together. I've been in recruitment, about 12, 13 years now. I kind of fell into recruitment like most recruiters do. And I had a really successful career in the businesses that I worked within. But I got to a point where I was just, quite frankly, not inspired by the businesses that I was recruiting for because they would really vary from anything from fleet management companies to companies that maybe, I don't know, make photocopiers or law firms, those types of businesses. And I was like, what am I so passionate about? And it's always animals. Like, I was obsessed with all of my pets since I was a kid. I watched all of the programs that those of us remember growing up in the 80s and 90s, Vets in Practice, all those other ones, some other ones with a certain Rolf that I won't mention. But I watched them all. And
can you see what it is yet?
Yeah. But I watched them all. And I was obsessed with the work that vets do. And had it been known, I would love to have been a vet, but obviously I wasn't clever enough to be one. But going back to recruitment, I thought, right, I'm going to start contacting veterinary practices because they are businesses like all these other companies that I was recruiting for. And I just started having success. I started with a large referral hospital in Solihull. Those that work in veterinary or animal health will know who I'm talking about. And I recruited all their back office support staff. And once I felt that success and I really enjoyed cementing myself into that industry and learning more and more about the work that people do within these businesses to ultimately better the lives of animals, I was hooked. So I started contacting more and more veterinary practices. And then I went and worked for another agency that were quite niche in pharmaceuticals and animal health. But the pandemic happened and I got to a point, I'm almost 40 and I thought, what am I doing? I want to really focus more so on the pet and animal health side of the business and work the way that I wanted to work. So I had a wicked opportunity to go back to an old boss, actually, who I worked for before, who helped me springboard the Animal People Recruitment Company. And now 3 years on, well, it's amazing. I can't even believe what we've achieved. But very quickly after we launched, Katie joined us. Me and Katie have been friends for a really long time. And it just started with her because when we launched the logo, we were just inundated with requests to help businesses. And I was like to my business partner, Sarah, shit, what am I going to do? I can't cope with all of this. And I needed an extra pair of hands. So Katie came to join us and just took to it like a duck to water. And they say, people don't work with friends or animals, and I do both. And we've been doing it for 3 years and it's just been amazing. I couldn't imagine working with anyone else. So that's a whistle-stop tour. So now we're the Animal People Recruitment Company specialists in the pet and animal health industry, and servicing all your commercial roles within those businesses, and absolutely loving what we've achieved so far. It's been brilliant.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember when you first started because I knew you before you started it, and I just remember thinking when you started it was something I really supported, just from the aspect that my experience with recruiters was always that it was a recruiter who happened to be involved with fast moving consumer goods or something a bit more derivative, and you would, and they wouldn't really get it because the pet industry is phenomenally unique in that you need a certain personality type, there's a certain mindset to it, and there's a certain knowledge and passion that you actually have to embody to actually really
Yeah.
like be successful in it on a long term basis. And I've seen people come into the industry who are just like, it's just another corporate job, and being like, how many squeaky bananas do you want? Look, I can sell you loads of squeaky bananas, and you're like, what are you on about? Or this week they're selling kibble, and they're saying no, raw food, yeah, it's full of like germs and blah 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 and kibble, and then 6 months later they're working for a raw food company saying kibble's terrible for your dog, and you're like, you're the same person. Where are your values? It's so.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
so yeah, it is. I mean, Katie, like, was the pet industry something you always wanted to be involved in, or?
Do you know what? The honest answer is I'd never thought about it before in my whole life. But, the pet industry is an amazing industry to be in. Like you say, it's so unique, and the people that you work with are extremely special, and they all underlyingly have the same values. We all want the best for animals, and we all want to do the right thing. So for me, it's people centric. I always want to do the best by people within this industry, and those people and those candidates ultimately turn into friendships, which have blossomed for me, especially over the last 2 years of being in this industry. I wholeheartedly love what I do, and it's all about finding out about that person behind the CV and what we can do, and recognising the skill set that sometimes gets overlooked by other people, and giving people opportunities.
Yeah, it's definitely quirky. I mean, obviously, I think like for me, like obviously I've been involved in every angle of it at this point, from like dog food to wild bird food to reptile. And I mean, when you actually delve into the reptile world, it gets very quirky very quickly, to be honest. So it's it's and it, but again, it's like you have to be able to relate to your customers, and people buy
You do.
people. They don't necessarily buy brands.
That's
They
it.
don't necessarily buy products. They buy the people first. So it's very important that, like, I remember, it was always a thing. I used to go and visit my customers. So if I visited a small independent, I would always go dressed as I am now, like the hoodie, combat trousers. And they would always go in and they'd say, there's nothing I can't stand. And like someone who's suited and booted, because, they're mucking out a rabbit, and then they've got a guy in a suit standing over them trying to sell them something. Whereas,
But you're just being authentic, Clayton, aren't you? You're being
my
yourself.
problem is I can't be anything
People
other.
want to see
I can't
that.
be anything other than
No,
authentic.
you
It's
can't.
like I've tried. It doesn't work. It's like it's an absolute car crash when I'm like anything other than authentic, to be honest.
I'm sure you could pull off a double-breasted, don't worry.
I might have to shave first, or shave more regularly anyway. That's for sure. Okay, so I'm gonna like switch this over, and I'm gonna make this a slightly more difficult conversation for you guys. So, looking at the
Okay.
client-facing side, so the
Mm-hmm.
value proposition, obviously, for recruiters is high, but also the cost is relatively high as well. And I know from my experience of dealing with a number of different people in a number of different sectors, is that some people are obviously, they can be a little bit tight when it comes to paying out for things. Like, how would you justify your role as recruiters within the industry, and why is it worth paying the extra money rather than, let's say, I'm just going to put something on Indeed or LinkedIn, or ask the bloke down the pub. You know how people work, but
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I get what you're asking. Yeah, it's a big question to answer as well. So it's just probably going to take a bit of time. And I agree, anything worth having costs. Recruitment done badly is a complete waste of money, but recruitment done well will be the best money that you ever spend for your business, because without the right people in your business, you are nothing. I would be nothing without Katie, Wahida, Sheila, and Sarah, and all the people that make up our business, and all of our service providers. So people are vital to get right. So that's that first. And I think the misconception that a lot of people have when they use recruiters is that we just whack a CV, like whack a job spec out there and find people for the job. If only it was that easy, I would be a multi-millionaire. It's not. To get where I am now, and where Katie is now, and where we all are now, has taken years of industry experience. And I have worked really hard to get my network where it is, and that comes with a certain price tag, but also to run a recruitment business. And this was something that I was really shocked about, being naive to the business side of things when I started the Animal People. It costs a hell of a lot of money to do business. It really does. And any business owners that are listening to this will understand that. And it is just the same for recruitment. Our tools that we have, the industry tech that we have, and that enable us to do the best job and offer something really different. And I can tell you now for a fact, when I started recruiting into the pet industry and I was talking to clients about what they were getting from their recruiter they were using, was nowhere near what we offer. Like, we have some amazing tech. Our CRM is incredible. Our website is great. The video tech that we use is amazing. The job boards that we have access to, they all cost. And, you know, we've invested all of our money back into the business, to our brand, going to all these industry shows. That costs, to really make sure that we're not just providing a service to the industry, but that we're really part of it too. So when you're working with us, you're not just working with the likes of a high street agency that just want to fill your job and quickly move on to the next. We're very niche and specialist in what we do. So we don't just want to fill a job, then move on and not really care. We're really getting into the nuts and bolts of these companies and really understanding how they work so that we can find the right matches for them. And we don't just take on jobs without consulting. You know, I know for a fact, I'm consulting to these businesses. They're asking me what roles would be best, what job descriptions would look like. I'm building job descriptions. I'm actually coming in and sitting on board meetings to look at the different roles that they could bring in. If someone comes to me and they say they want this certain role, and I know for a fact that it's not going to work for their business, I will suggest other options. And even if that's detrimental to me in terms of the fee that I'll earn out of that, I want to do what's right for the business. We've really got that company's back, and that's how we've won repeat business, because we don't just talk the talk like a lot of people in sales do. We really do walk the walk, and we do deliver. So going back to your question, I don't know if that answers it, but you know, and all of the cost of living for everyone, we're all feeling it. Like, my fiance came back the other day and he goes, "Oh, Chris, guess how much a box of Weetabix is in the supermarket now? £4." I was like, what? So I get it. It's expensive to do business, but it's just the same within recruitment. And the time that we spend, we don't just fling a load of CVs, and that is shown. Our clients can vouch for that work with us. And I can definitely say, hand on heart, that anyone that has and successfully taken our people, they'll tell you about the kind of service that they get from myself, Katie, and now Wahida. And it is top notch. I know it is.
I think another thing to highlight, Chris, is you know, one of our USPs and something that we're really proud of is supporting Birmingham Dogs Home, and how much we've donated as well, which shows that we're really aligned with the industry and we want to do right again by the welfare of animals.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, I guess. And, you know, we're a business like anyone else, and obviously all businesses need to remain profitable, but we donate every single time that we make a placement to Birmingham Dogs Home. And I think now we're just shy of around £16,000 of our own profits that we have given to them without a second thought. And we're also doing our own challenge for Snowdon, actually coming up this Sunday, where we're raising funds for that. And we've managed to raise just over £1,000 now. And that's something that I always push back on clients, because when I set up the company as well with our fee structure, I'd worked within other agencies. I'd seen what they'd offered and the tiered structures to different salaries, and it was all very complicated. We don't do that. We offer one flat fee with nothing to pay, no deposits, no hidden costs until that person starts with you. So we take on all the risk, because ultimately we work for free until we get paid. But because we have good relationships with our clients, we're happy to do that. So yeah, that's so we have to just say all those things.
Like, how would you define the metrics for success? So, and like, could you maybe give, you know, you don't have to name names, but let's say a success story and show how those metrics sort of played out in an example.
Gosh, there's been too many to mention, and each case is very different depending on the client and the candidate's requirements. I think the key to success is the relationship, and how we position ourselves to businesses is to really literally be their own internal recruiter. We don't stop until that right person is found for that role. So the metrics for me for success is to really work honestly, openly, professionally, because when you're working with us, it's not just about us filling your role, it's about us spreading the good word about your brand and ultimately getting you more customers. This is something that people don't understand. If candidates have a negative experience with your brand or with us, they're not going to use us again, and they're probably not going to buy your products. So when we're going out to market, we're really making sure that everyone that we touch has a great experience with us. And if they don't know about the brand, and this happens all the time, we would have people that have applied for one of our roles, they don't know where it is, and because they've had a good experience, they might not have even been right for the role, but they've gone away and bought the product. So going back to your question though, sorry, I've gone off tangent. It's all about honesty and that relationship that we've got with the client. And I think that is something that a lot of internal recruiters and hiring managers don't really realize the necessity on. I've jumped on many a briefing call with companies in the past where they've wanted to rush it and not really given a lot of detail. And that's when we know that we're not aligned. We're not here to just fling CVs. These are people's lives at the end of the day, and they deserve the respect and the time that we all would if we were looking for a new job. It's an important thing for people to be doing. A job at the end of the day is something that allows someone to do what they want to do in their life and have all the things around them and do the things they want to do. So it's a big decision. So yeah, just work honestly and spend the time with your recruiter is what I would say to success.
And I think,
and something that I want to highlight,
no,
sorry, Clayton, for interrupting, is obviously this industry is an incredible industry to work within, but to also look at the amazing pool of candidates that are wanting to enter the industry. Something that we're really proud of is that 60% of our candidates placed last year came from outside of industry.
Yeah, that's cool. That is good, because the industry did need shaking up, Clayton. Like you would know, like when we entered it, all people were interested in was where someone had worked, not who they were or what value they could bring. And me and Katie, like, is a phenomenal recruiter, one of the best people that I've ever worked with, and was really able to get behind these candidates because she spends so much time getting to know them, and that's how we've been able to open up doors for people that would have ultimately been told no in the past for no good reason. And that's why this industry is going to survive. If it has more diverse people from different walks of life, different backgrounds, it only strengthens the industry.
It was always a bugbear of mine that there was always like a employment merry-go-round, I think is the best way of describing it, where there was like, you'd have a rep and he'd be from one company and absolutely useless. They'd spend 2 years there and then go somewhere else, and they turn up and you're like, my God, who's employing these people? And it's and because they had worked within, let's say, a competitor, there was just this, they know the business because they've worked for X and X and X and X, but they were hopeless in all of those jobs. Whereas what we need all the time is we need fresh ideas, we need different visions, we need people to actually look and say, like, this is how we're going to do things differently. And that can come from different countries, it can come from different industries, and it's important for people to keep obviously pushing the barriers in them directions. So even though you could say I'm like, it's been my whole life, like I always kept myself fresh by like, looking at different countries, different markets, etc. Different industries. You can't limit yourself within just like a very narrow focus, because what ends up happening is everyone copies each other, and then you just end up with this sort of like homogenous line of products. I mean, we're seeing it happen at the moment with, let's say dog food brands. Everybody is bringing out, let's say, a X% fresh meat, X% dry, and it's sort of like rather than somebody saying, well, let's take a risk, let's do something different, you just end up with something works, everyone does it. It was like grain free 15 years ago. Someone came out with grain free, suddenly everyone was grain free, and it gets a little bit, so it's
just important. It's just important that everyone's different and it's got a different story to tell. And I do agree, sometimes just because you've been doing a job a long time doesn't mean that you're necessarily doing your best within it. But and I also do recognise that sometimes industry experience is really important within roles, and that's something that we're lucky enough to really have a great network of people that have that experience. But we always do like to challenge the status quo. Me and Katie, we have our whole lives, and we do want to open doors for people because we've been told no in our lives before for no good reason, and we're really good people. So yeah, to help others do the same, and especially if they're an animal person. Hey, hence the that we want to help them get into the industry that they want to be.
I mean, I liked what you said about the consulting side as well, because I do find that a lot with businesses, they don't actually know what they should be looking for a lot of the time for roles. And again, it comes down to this structural copying people do, where they'll say, well, in this business, they have a commercial director that leads into a head of sales and a national account manager, and then that leads into X amount of business development people. And I'm not sure I can afford all these people because I've only got X, you know, and like actually having somebody you can go to and say, look, what am I looking for? What type of person am I looking for? How do I build out this structure is invaluable. And like I say, you know, the fact that you're prepared to do that, because I'd say there's not many people within the industry actually would have the competency to do that, to be honest.
Oh, thank you. Well, we are doing it, and it's to a point where I'm doing it all for free. So that might be something that I need to look at, to be quite honest, because I'm giving away a lot of tools. And I know for a fact that, because I've seen different kind of recruitment companies and what they offer and their charge rate, I know we're competitive and we've got a lot to offer.
So next question is, how would you assess somebody's cultural fit for a business? Like, how would you assess, like, because obviously a big part of what you do and the real value you give is actually understanding the cultural fit of the person against the company and vice versa. How would you go about doing that? Because that would be, if you plopped me in a recruitment role, that would definitely be something I'd struggle with, to be honest.
I think for me, Katie, you're really great at this, so I don't want to be the one that's speaking all the time.
No,
but for
it's
me,
fine.
getting to know companies' culture's vital. So again, like I said before, it's really understanding that the person that you're working with in the business and spending the time with them, whether that be initially virtually and then an on-site visit. We like to go on site and see our clients' businesses and have a real good feel for them, and asking those questions to the client around why they work for the business, what they're wanting to achieve with their culture. Not when you're working with a recruiter as well. I think so many people are so conscious that they want to give a great impression, but just because you want to give that impression, it's not always the reality. So it's better to know the reality of what's going on within a culture and what candidates need to be aware of joining, because if they're not aware of the honest truth of what's going on within a business, then it's going to be a shock to them and it will have an impact on whether or not they stay. So again, just really partnering with the business and understanding what their culture is right now and what they want it to be. And really, when we're interviewing candidates, like Katie, I'll let you take over this bit, but it's about getting to know them, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all about, like you say, partnering with people, being honest, open and transparent, whether that's about the client's culture or about the candidate. For me, I've worked with so many people in the past, and we do build relationships. You know, we spend a lot of time with our candidates and our clients, you know, whether that's over the phone or meeting in person or either on video. But yeah, it's just trying to find the right fit for the business. It's not always going to be the right one, but we just do our best, don't we, Chris, to find the right skill set, one, and then the right fit, secondly, for our clients within the industry.
Yeah, it's all about that honest communication and really partnering well, so that we do feel like, and the client feels like, that we do understand their culture and that we can go out to market and represent their brand properly. And obviously, sometimes brands will have a negative stance. We go out to market and a lot of people might say, oh no, I've heard this X, Y, and Z about this company, and that's then our job to educate the candidates around what's different, what's changing, and why they should join this business. So without really partnering with the client properly, you can't do that. So for me, culture is all about honesty, keeping close to one another, and matching accordingly. But so many candidates again will come to interview with us, and they'll have that interview persona, if you like, ready. They'll be on interview and they want to put forward their best version of themselves, and it's just not authentic. So we're really good at stripping that back and making people feel comfortable enough to be authentic, so that we can then match accordingly. You know.
Yeah, it's finding people's authentic self is always difficult. Like, I think some people are naturally very authentic, but I think there's a lot of people who are sort of, I say they're very good serial job hoppers, and sometimes that's not their fault, but sometimes some people are just very good at interviewing and very good at like projecting a persona, and I think that's a very tough thing for people to actually like siphon down. I mean, my problem is always I've been too honest. I'm too honest. I don't mind telling people. I don't mind telling people if I can't do something or if I have a problem with certain things they're doing. And I'm not. I don't do it to. I don't do it to be nasty or like, you know. But I just feel like if you can deal with honesty, you can deal with me. To be honest, so. But I do also understand the real metric of people being like, I just want to get the job. To be honest.
And that's another thing why using a recruitment consultant is so important for a business, because especially with the increase of AI, it's everywhere at the moment. And going back to your first question about the value that we add and the cost, AI will never be able to, or at least I hope not, be able to really do what we do, and that's really get under the skin of someone and make them feel authentic enough to be themselves and really dig into that information and carry them through that process and keep them still engaged. And yeah, we can do that much better than any computer system.
Yeah, and AI, I think I don't know if you've ever tried writing stuff in AI, but it always comes off really weird anyway, right? So it's like I think people who then decide, I'm going to post a job and I'll just talk to AI and say, hey ChatGPT, can you pop me up a job spec for a business development manager for X position, blah blah blah. It always comes off slightly weird anyway, that sort of thing. So
yeah, AI has its place, but you need that human touch. You really, really do.
Its main place for me is I like to argue with it in the evenings. It's like, because it it gives you very surface level information. You say, no, that's not right. That's not right, ChatGPT. I'm going to question on that. And it's like, okay, maybe under these circumstances. Like, yeah, but what about this? Oh yeah, but if we add this in, okay. And it's like, no, ChatGPT. That's my own personal.
You're giving away what you do every evening now, Clayton.
Well, I tell you, I don't even watch TV anymore.
Arguing with ChatGPT.
I just argue with ChatGPT. The voice function allows me to do that. Okay, so let's move over to candidate size questions. What common mistakes would you say candidates make in their application interviews for animal care and pet industry roles, and how can they avoid them?
That's a big question because there's so many different mistakes that people do make. But I think that, again, for candidates, it's about finding the right recruitment partner from you and how you reach out to those recruitment companies first, and be very clear in what your mission is and what you're wanting to get out of that relationship, and just understanding that recruitment consultants have a really busy role, and it's often not because they're ignoring you, it's just because they've got thousands of other people to go back to. So I think that if it's about really creating that relationship in the right way with a recruiter from the offset, and having that being prepared with what it is that you want to do and why you want to do it, what you want to earn, what kind of role you want to be within, what culture you want to be within, where you want to be in the next few years, what brands you would like to work for, and spending that time before you even contact the recruiter with a really good CV that's well laid out, that has all of your experiences on there, that has a great opening profile. You've got your hobbies and interests, your education, those roles marked out. And doing that and spending the same time on your LinkedIn profile, that's really vital for success nowadays. So I think it's just being prepared before you talk to a recruitment consultant, and also understanding what the role of a recruiter often it is. So yeah, I think that is and managing your expectations. And again, that comes back to the recruitment company that you're working with. We are as much as we're good as what we do, we're not miracle performers, and we do need to work with you, not so that, I don't know if that makes sense. But
so let's say I'm a candidate and I have limited experience within the industry. How could I make myself stand out to you so that you put me nearer to the top of the pile rather than not?
I would say what's most important is your attitude, how you're contacting us, that you've written a nice message. If it is you choose that your method, your form of communication. A lot of people like to contact us directly on LinkedIn. Again, that comes to be how you're messaging us and what you're asking from us. And it's just about being nice to people. I mean, I'm nice to everyone, but everyone's not as nice back. So I would say just be nice to someone, have a great CV, make it very clear in your opening profile. Sorry, my emails are picking off. See, I do work. So, yeah, just being very kind and nice, and then honest and transparent about what it is that you want and want to do. And if you're coming from outside of industry, getting that passion across in your CV is great, in your hobbies and interests, and telling them about your pets, telling them about anything you do with that outside. You might volunteer at an animal sanctuary, but in your profile, just explaining at the beginning what it is that you're wanting to get into. If you're a sales manager, that you've got X amount of years within sales and you're looking to move these skills into the pet industry, it's really, why you want to be within it. That would be my advice, but just be nice, be a nice person. And when your outreach is, you've got to remember, I think what people forget is when you're messaging anyone, whoever it is, we all have busy lives. It's not just our emails that ping off now. It's our LinkedIn, it's our WhatsApp, it's our text, it's the phone. So whatever method of communication you got to remember that person might have just got a horrible message from someone or something, I don't know. And you want to be, if you're wanting a positive outcome out of interacting with that person, you want to be nice and kind first, So that's what my method is when I want something out of people. I'm just nice. Just be nice.
Just be nice and definitely work with us. I mean, we're not always going to have the opportunity available straight away. I've worked with lots of candidates over a 12-month period to find the right opportunity for them. 99% of the time we're successful. We've gone through multiple roles together. We've built a really strong relationship. Some have been successful, some haven't, but really partner with us. And bear with us, because a role may not be available right now, but no one's to say it's not going to be available in the next month, 6 months, 12 months,
Yeah.
So this is a slightly more difficult one for you. So salary negotiations. This is like one of my pet hates, and I know you don't do this, is when they just won't publish a salary at all. But I also dislike salary ranges because it then leads people to have to negotiate for that salary. And like once you've been through an interview process, when somebody offers you the role and they say the role is, let's say, 32 to 37, like let's say, for example, how do you advise people to actually tackle those salary negotiations? Because I think it can be quite daunting that once you've been through that whole process of getting the job, that then once you're there and they go, how's 32 sound for you? And you're like, well, it was 32 to 37, because you're kind of hoping you're at least in the middle, generally speaking. But I've kind of seen it before where they're kind of like, you say, well, 45 to 50, and they'll go, how much were you looking for? 50. And how dare you even ask for the top end of this negotiation, so.
Yeah. Me and Katie are very different on this stance, but with salaries, I hate talking about money. I really don't. And when I'm working with a client, I want to get through the terms of business as quick as possible because I just want to get on with the job. But I understand money is very important, and it's why we all go to work at the end of the day. So we shouldn't shy away from those types of difficult conversations. So, and you're right. I also love to be able to just be very transparent with the salary bandings that we have for roles that clients give us. But unfortunately, for certain roles, we cannot do that because our clients have asked us not to, and that could be for a variety of different reasons. Perhaps there's restructures within teams, perhaps there are promotions that are yet to happen. You can't upset the apple cart. We have to respect our clients' wishes sometimes with that, and that normally happens at senior level type roles. You know what it's like in businesses as well. Sometimes people, as much as we can be very ambiguous with where the company is, people might find out or start talking. So I understand why clients want to do that sometimes. And salary banding, I think for us with candidates, I actually don't, when I interview a candidate, I won't be motivated to ask them what they're currently earning. I want to know what they want to earn and what skills they have that are relevant for that role, which deserve that type of salary. So we always lead with those types of questions. And normally 9 times out of 10 candidates will tell us what they're earning. And of course, anyone that's moving role, they will want an improvement on their previous salary. Otherwise, they wouldn't be moving. So we all work for money at the end of the day. So it's just working with us to tell us what you're really wanting for that role. And when we submit candidates to a client, we are very clear as to what the candidate wants for that role. We won't be telling them this is what they're currently earning, this is what the candidate wants for the role, and that's what should we remain focused. So we'll talk, if there is a banding with a role, we'll talk to the candidate and say, so what are you looking for this role? And that's what they're submitted at, and clients know that's why they've been submitted at that salary. So that should avoid any of those types of conversations. And it does happen though. Clients come back to us all the time and they want to negotiate and talk about different salaries or reasons behind that. And it's just, again, about having an open, honest conversation and justifying their reasoning with the candidates.
So, Katie, when Chris said you have different perspective on this, what would you say yours is?
To be fair, I think you've covered absolutely everything in terms of salary. We're really fortunate to have some great technology that candidates have submitted on with actual salaries that obviously we've had discussions with candidates around. So yeah, you and I have very similar views on that.
Yeah, and we've got some really good tech as well that we use that enables us to salary benchmark across different industries as well as within the industries that we recruit into. But I just say with me and Katie being quite different on that, Katie is very, she's quite black and white, and I'm a bit fluffier. So Katie is very direct when it comes to certain things. So
I think it's difficult. I think it's quite British to not want to talk about money as well. I mean, because I'm horrendous for talking about money. Like, I'm fine when it comes to business, when it's like I'm selling something, it's like that's the price and we can do a deal on this. But when it comes to like what am I worth, it's like I'm worth whatever you want to pay me. I'm literally the worst person in the world for salary negotiations. I'd be working for everyone for 50p a week if it was like completely down to me, to be honest. So. So I think it's a very British thing, to be honest. I think like where we've all grown up in Britain, I think we have like, it's kind of almost like you don't talk about money. But look, we go to work for money. We have bills to pay. The mortgage company doesn't say to us, it's fine, just leave it off this month. No. So it is important that when we like sell our labour that we actually get paid for it at a rate that works for everyone, so it's just a tough question. It's just a tough question, isn't it?
Yeah,
and you do have to pay to get good people. You have to pay good money to get good people.
You know what, there's nothing like more important in my opinion than the people in the company. Like, it was always the hardest part of my role running a business was having the right people around me, because next, like, along with machinery, people and machinery, and you wouldn't buy like like all your, let's say if you're a dog food manufacturer, you wouldn't buy all your dog food manufacturing equipment from Alibaba and expect it to work, so it's the same thing, is that you have to get the right people in, and you have to pay for it. But if you pay the right amount of money for it, you get the right people, the business will be more successful.
Of course you do.
And something, a machine that doesn't work is a liability in the same way a person who's no good at their job is a liability. So recruitment is so key to every business, and it always, like I say, it always makes me uneasy when people don't realise the value of their people.
I know.
So let's like go a little bit more lighthearted. Like, let's there's enough serious questions. Can you tell me any funny recruitment stories or anything that's funny that's happened in there? I mean, like, I can tell you one of mine. So you've got to bear in mind, this isn't your level of recruitment, but I used to employ a lot of delivery drivers. And we used to be very laissez-faire with it. And we'd be like, just get them in, and can you find your way around? And then we were like, no, we're going to be a bit more organized, and we're going to have like questions. So one of the questions we had was, if you arrive at a customer's shop, they're very upset about something. It's not your fault, but they're very upset and they're quite rude to you. How do you react? And I remember this one guy said to us, he goes, "You ain't got to worry about me." And I went, "All right, okay." And he goes, "Yeah, I'll just lay him out." And I was like, I was like, "Okay, right, fine." I was like, "Okay."
Did you hire him? There we go.
To be honest, he
Everybody
made
wants
it to the
know.
last three, but we didn't pull the trigger on that guy. But I mean, can you think of anything like amusing that's happened? Probably.
Too many. I've got too many. I've been doing this a long time. I've met all sorts of different people. I guess the weirdest ones have been like, I don't know. I've walked into many an office where it's been like you could hear a pin drop. This is probably more so before COVID, and you could hear a pin drop, and everyone. I'm like, oh my days, like, I wouldn't want to work here. But I think like the video calls have been interesting. There was this guy once that came on a video call for an interview, had been prepped, was all ready to do the video part, and he came in his dressing gown, and then was asking me if I wanted to see his tortoise. I was like, "What do you mean you taught us?" I've had people that have like, yeah, just been a bit inappropriate. Yeah, I guess more so since the like personal brands become a thing on LinkedIn. I've had some inappropriate messages directly. Doesn't just happen to women listeners; it happens to men too. I've had some right characters send me messages. I'm like, block. So yeah, I don't know, just all sorts. People are funny, aren't they? But all sorts.
It's a quirky,
I've
interesting.
clearly not been in
Have
the
you had
industry
anything?
long enough. I've clearly not
Yeah.
been in the
I
industry
mean,
long
it's
enough. I've found all my interactions fine.
Yeah, you've had all right. You haven't had anything that unusual so far that I can think of at the top of my head. You've had a couple of what I call difficult people, haven't you, that have been a bit arsey and because they haven't had a reply within 20 minutes. But other than that,
Other than
I'm
that,
like,
it's
what's
been
wrong with you? Not
good.
replying in 20 minutes, you know? Well,
yeah, I know.
you never get a job at
Yeah.
Domino's. It's, you have an attitude like that. I mean, yeah, I've met some crazy, quirky people in this industry. I mean, I think just to show how people are. I mean, I remember we used to have this shop I used to deliver to. This woman opened this pet shop, and she only had it for like 6 months to a year because she was absolutely nuts. But she had these bay windows, and she decided these bay windows in the front of the shop would be a great place to keep her gerbils. So they were just put like a lump of wood there, threw the gerbils in, and they're running around. I'm like, you can't keep them like that, right? It's like, so it's there's some weird old characters, and that was just someone running a business. So I can imagine when you like filter it down to recruitment, it can get quite unusual quite quickly. So do you see any like trends emerging from your end? Like, because obviously I think you're like probably more in touch with the generalized industry than I think most people are. I mean,
Yeah, we do. We see loads of different trends, and because we travel internationally with the company as well, we've been to the States in March, and that was incredible. Like the innovation at Global Pet Expo was so interesting, and there was a real focus on the human and or the pet owner and the animal bond with a lot of the different products, from games to the way that you feed interactively. But there was a big focus, I'd say, a lot on
collagen,
freeze-dried
wasn't it?
raw.
Freeze dried,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, collagen was big, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I
huge.
I loved, I really did love a lot of the interactive games and feeders that they had. I mean, Woof brought out a really cool frozen popsicle thing that I loved.
Yeah.
So I was lucky enough to be given one, and Rodney's loved that. And yeah, there was a board game that was great, but there was just an awful lot, and there was a big focus on cat out there. I felt there was a lot more cat brands doing stuff and making noise than there has been in here. I mean, we do work with several cat brands currently, actually, but yeah, I think that was the main takeaways that I had. It was the innovation, the products, and the way that we feed. But there was a lot of cold press, and like Katie said, collagen was everywhere, wasn't it? In a lot of products, you saw it on ingredients, and there was like CBD was a big thing as well.
I mean, collagen chews have been booming up for a while, actually. I think because I think it's just a better alternative to things like potato starches and some of the other things that have been in the market longer. And I think like the market's become
Mm-hmm.
more ready, and people don't like rawhide and that anymore. So collagen shoes have become more common. So, but yeah, I mean, I like going to places like Global. It does open your mind to like the variations as well, and it's like, you know, because I always see that when I go to America, like I go to up into like Super Zoo and Global and that sort of stuff. It's like in some ways they're like 6 months ahead of us, in other ways they're like 6 months behind, and it's always interesting seeing like the different variations on stuff. But just so people know, obviously you work with American companies recruiting for the US pet industry as well, because obviously that's an important distinction to make, because obviously anyone listening might just think, well, this is a UK recruitment company, and obviously I have like a good audience like which is coming from the United States. So can you just run through the differences between your US recruitment and your UK recruitment and how that works?
Yeah, so we have got a handful of clients, and probably about 8 clients now that are founded and run out of the USA and Canada. And we've been instrumental in helping these brands launch their UK teams. So whilst we're not putting boots on the ground for people to work in the US or Canada yet, I think that could be potentially something that we would look to for the future. But we are working with American and Canadian brands to help when they've launched their teams in the UK and then mainland Europe as well. So, and that's something we really, really have enjoyed. And we've placed people from like first sales hires from and managing director level into these brands to really put boots on the ground. So, and they've been great to work with. And I have to tell you, take note, anyone that's listening, some of the US HR managers and internal recruiters that I've had the pleasure of working with have been phenomenal. Their process has been amazing. We have really been felt valued. I'm not saying obviously we feel valued by our clients now, but they have had some great processes, I have to say, and really partnered with us. So again, it comes back to the thing at the beginning, just partner with your recruiter, even if you're not using us, to get the best out of them. Really put your arms around them and spend the time with them. But yeah, that's a bit about US.
I mean, I love American companies generally. I've worked obviously with a lot of UK companies, but I've worked with a lot of US companies, especially the big corporates. And I've got to be honest, they're very easy to work with. They're very like once you they like your value proposition. Generally speaking, things run smoothly, quickly, and they they don't generally back out of deals. You know, they're very like easy to deal with, American companies. So. And also, people see the UK market as being a tough market actually to break, because it is so unlike the European Union, and it's so unlike the United States. So I think like the value of actually being able to place people within that market who understand it is massive.
I mean, what were they saying to us, Katie? Every time we went up to someone at Global, they were asking us if we were what? Distributors.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because, like, obviously, I do think that, like, for American companies, like, I mean, I've consulted with a couple of American companies on how to build operations in the UK and the EU, and it does seem like an enormous minefield for them, and one where they think, oh my God, have I got to employ, you know, a team of people for every single country, or how do I get around the legislation, obviously the different currencies, blah, blah, blah. So I think like just having a point of call where you can actually build out a effective like recruitment plan for them is a massive thing, and like incredibly valuable to companies. So yeah, it's definitely something that you should be doing more of for sure.
Excellent. Yeah, we hope to.
Okay, so just some like really quick one answer questions before we like wind down. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
What is the most important skill you believe is essential for success in the pet industry recruitment like sector? So if you have a I'm gonna take ages to answer this question, but what would you say the top skill is people need when they're applying for a job, outside of, let's say, the job specifications?
Wouldn't it just be passion for the industry?
I was going to say exactly the same. Passion.
Yeah,
Yeah, you've got to be an animal person.
yeah.
Yeah, you've got to have passion. Yeah, without that, you're not going to be successful, or you're going to coast along in life, I believe. If you're not passionate about what it is that you're doing, you know, looking back for me, I can speak about my career. I I don't think I never set out to be in recruitment. I didn't think, oh, I want to be a recruitment consultant. I didn't, and I could have
You
easily
did.
left the industry after a
Don't
while.
tell lies.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
tell
I did.
lies. Don't tell lies. This is recorded.
But what drives me is my passion for not just only helping people and helping others, but it's really the industries that I work within. I'm so interested in the work that they do, and I really genuinely am. It doesn't ever feel forced. I want to know about the ins and outs of these businesses, which is why it's brought me success, because it's not forced or fake. Like, I genuinely have a passion for animals and the work that everyone does in these industries. So passion, like Katie said, yeah, passion.
What would be your big networking tip? So for somebody getting into the industry who wants to be involved, like how would you, like what would be your networking tip for those people?
Katie, you're a great networker, I think.
Okay,
I'm not as good
yeah.
as you.
I suppose getting into the industry, just going back to the previous conversation around partnering with a recruiter in animal related industries, going to trade shows, looking at the products, speaking to brands that you're passionate about and you want to understand more, find out about what those sales managers do or those buyers, because so many people have those transferable skills, and then it just comes alongside the passion. If you can have the blend of both, you've got a dream job ultimately. So yeah, just network with people, talk to lots of people in the marketplace, find out the good, the bad, the ugly, because there's always a bit of everything, and
Mm.
approach the brands that you're really passionate about and want to work with.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I think for me with the networking, although I might look online that I'm a really confident person, I'm not necessarily all the time. I think it takes a lot of work, and anyone that does put themselves out there to network at these trade shows, just remember that everyone feels the same. And Katie really has helped me over the years with my confidence at these things, because sometimes it is nerve-wracking. You're going up, you're talking to people that aren't always the friendliest, especially when it comes to talking to recruiters, because they think that we've got a different agenda, but it just genuinely is to be nice and see if we can help when we can. But just remember that everyone's feeling the way that you are at one or has at one stage. Give yourself a break.
Yeah.
Be kind to yourself. Don't worry, and just go to these things to learn. And yeah, it's difficult though. I understand, like, networking isn't natural for everyone. I've been in loads of networking situations where I'm like, this is just networking for network's sake, and but I understand, like, it's essential. But just be confident, I would say, and go with a friend if you can to any
Yeah,
networking, because that always helps for a bit of confidence. Me and
and they
Katie are
generally
like an old
push
married
you,
couple now.
so I push
Yeah,
them from behind. Give them a little nudge
yeah,
in the right
I,
direction.
yeah,
I think also when you
yeah.
go, if you like even if you're low on confidence, I think if you actually really are into the products and really into what you're
Yeah,
into, that
That's
that
it.
can quickly take over from any lack of confidence, because
of course
you're
it
not
can.
talking about yourself. I mean, it's like talking about yourself can be difficult, but talking about something you
Mm,
really are genuinely passionate about. So if you do have a genuine passion, I think actually just going and going, look,
mm,
to our this harness company, I love these harnesses, but wouldn't it be great if we could do X, Y, and Z? And the reason being that, and like this
mm,
is I think this is such a great product. If it's undervalued, you should promote this more. And like if you actually really love something, then it's easy to talk about it and just like
Of course it is.
push ideas out there.
that that's been my approach every time. I mean, I'm off to BVA tomorrow at the NEC, so that's BVA Live. I'm going with Wahida, and all too often, like in the past, if I'd had to go to one of these trade shows working for other recruiters, it would have been, "What are you going? How long are you going to be? What jobs are you going to bring back?" It's
Get
ridiculous.
KPIs,
But my only,
KPIs. Come on, what are your KPIs?
oh
Come on, let's.
gosh. Never in this company. My whole mission is to just, and so this is for Wahida as well. It's just to go and learn. I won't talk about recruitment when I'm there because I know how to recruit. I don't need, and I know how to do that well. But what I don't know is the inner workings of these companies, all their products, and I just want to learn as much as I can, and meet nice people. That's my only agenda for tomorrow. But I've seen it at trade shows. Other recruitment companies go there and they're suited and booted, and they're right up in people's faces, and they're wanting to know how they recruit. Not our style at all. We're just all about learning about the companies and the people that work within them, making those.
I do think that's something, obviously, some people do need to learn, is that the importance of consistency and long-term, like, trust over KPIs. I mean, it's like KPIs are one of those things that it's sort of like, it's so hard to quantify a lot of the time. And it's easy, let's say for sales targets, it's easy to hit a sales target in the short term if you're dishonest. But if you're honest and you're looking for long-term business, it's not so easy, because you have to build people's trust.
Yeah.
You have to work with people. You have to do a lot of work which isn't necessarily profitable initially, but long-term, if you're building a business, that's what life's about, So no, 100% agree. And I'm glad you guys aren't like, Casey, you're coming to Crufts, but unless you get me at least 5 jobs and 25 candidates,
Yeah, we're not like that. It's probably at my detriment, but no, we're not that kind of company.
Right, so
Definitely not.
Where can people find you? Let us know. Obviously, I know you guys support Birmingham Dogs Home. Give us the lowdown on you guys, where they can find you, all your details, and give us a plug for the Birmingham Dogs Home, because I know it's really important to you.
Yeah, it is. Find us on animalpeoplerecruitment.com. You can find us on LinkedIn as well if you just type in the Animal People Recruitment Company, and you'll see all of our consultants' profiles there that you can connect with. And you'll also see on our website our page that's dedicated to the work that we do with Birmingham Dogs Home. Just a quick plug on them. They're absolutely incredible charity. They receive no government funding whatsoever, so they really do rely on our donations. We all know, anyone that knows or should know, if you have a dog, about the difficulties of having one. It's not an easy thing to own a dog. You really need to know your stuff, and you need to do your research, and unfortunately not a lot of people do, and there's also some really, really not nice people out there that I could tell you about some things that I've seen and stories that I've heard. So they really do rely on our help and our donations. So we feel really, really proud to be Platinum Business Patrons to them and be giving every single time we make a placement. We know we're doing good just by doing our job. So yeah, I'd urge anyone that, especially if you live in the West Midlands, to pay them a visit on their website. And if you're looking at getting a dog, get in touch with them and see if there's the right dog there for you.
Right.
I do talk a lot, don't I? Go on.
I know.
Right.
You do, don't
Listening
you?
to this, I'd muted me. Poor Katie. Honestly, she's like, yeah, here he goes again.
Oh, we know that you're the Holly Willoughby of the industry, so it's fine.
Can't you pick someone better? She ain't even here anymore, is she?
Right, so yeah, I'll leave you guys. Go then. Thanks a million, and I really do recommend Chris and Katie. I think they're amazing people. Really know their jobs.
Thanks.
And you know what? Like, as people, when you meet them physically, they put you at ease. They've got great vibes. So even if, like, on the video, on listening, trust me, these guys are people that, if you care about the long-term growth and success of your business through your recruitment, they are definitely people you want to work with. Thanks a million, guys.
Oh, thank you.
No, that's all right.
Thank you.